Underestimating user experience UX in MVP development. While an MVP is minimal, it should still provide a smooth and usable experience. Often, UX gets deprioritized in favor of speed. In MVP development, the goal is to deliver a basic product quickly with essential features that solve a core problem. However, many teams fall into the trap of focusing solely on functionality, sacrificing user experience in the process. The common thought is that because the MVP is a minimum viable product, the user experience can be secondary and refined later. This is a misconception. Even if the product is minimal in terms of features, users still expect it to be intuitive, easy to navigate, and pleasant to use. Prioritizing speed over UX might seem like a shortcut, but it can lead to significant issues. Poor usability. If users find the product difficult to use or confusing, they won't interact with it as intended. This can prevent you from gathering meaningful feedback on how well the product solves the problem. Lack of engagement. Even if the MVP has great features, a clunky or frustrating interface can deter users from exploring those features. People may abandon the product quickly, thinking it's not worth their time. Negative first impressions. First impressions are crucial. If users have a bad experience with the MVP, it can damage the product's reputation and make it hard to bring users back, even if you improve it later. Why UX is important, even in an MVP. User-centered design increases engagement. MVPs aim to validate product-market fit, which means getting users to try the product and provide feedback. If the product is difficult or unpleasant to use, users won't engage deeply enough to offer the insights you need. A well-thought-out UX ensures that users are not only willing to try the MVP, but are also able to use it effectively to provide actionable feedback. Reduces friction in onboarding. When releasing an MVP, you may have limited features, but if the onboarding experience is smooth, users can quickly understand the core purpose and start interacting with the product. A bad onboarding experience, unclear instructions, too many steps can result in user drop-off before they even try the MVP's main feature. Improves learning from user feedback. If the UX is poor, it becomes hard to distinguish whether users are reacting to the core idea of the product or simply frustrated by the interface. A good UX ensures that feedback focuses on the functionality and utility, not just complaints about usability problems. Early UX mistakes are hard to reverse. Once users have a bad experience, even if it's an early version of the product, they are less likely to return. Negative word of mouth can spread quickly, which can harm your brand's reputation before the product has even fully launched. Helps define core features. Focusing on UX forces you to distill the product into a few simple and usable features. This clarity is vital for an MVP, as it helps you decide what is essential and what can be deprioritized. A user-centered design approach can illuminate what users really need versus what's merely nice to have, shaping the final product more effectively. Poor user experience can prevent users from engaging with the product and providing valuable feedback. When user experience is neglected, you risk creating barriers that prevent users from interacting with the product as intended. The consequences of this can be damaging to both the product and the business. Low user retention. Users may try the MVP once, but abandon it quickly if they find it hard to use. They may not return, even after improvements, because of their initial negative impression. If the first experience is bad, it is much harder to convince them to come back. Incomplete or misleading feedback. If the product's interface or interactions are clunky, user feedback may focus more on the poor experience rather than the core idea or functionality. This skews your understanding of the product's viability and makes it harder to make meaningful improvements. You might end up fixing UX issues instead of testing product-market fit. Missed opportunities for learning. A smooth UX encourages users to explore different aspects of the MVP. If the experience is intuitive, users are more likely to try all features and give feedback on what works and what doesn't. With poor UX, users may give up before fully engaging, meaning you miss out on valuable insights that could inform future iterations. Damaged brand reputation. Releasing an MVP with poor UX can tarnish your brand image. Users are more likely to share negative experiences, which can create a bad reputation early on. In competitive markets, this can put your product at a disadvantage, even if later versions improve the UX. Best practices to avoid underestimating UX in MVP development. Prioritize core user flows. Focus on the core functionality that users will interact with and ensure that the experience around that is seamless. If the product is meant to solve a specific problem, the user should be able to perform that action effortlessly. User testing. Even for an MVP, conducting simple usability testing can help identify UX issues early. Watching how users interact with the product can reveal areas of confusion or frustration that you can address before launch. Keep it simple. Complexity in design and interactions can hurt the MVP. Simplify navigation, minimize the number of steps to complete key actions, and ensure that the interface is intuitive and straightforward. Consistency. Ensure that the visual and interaction design is consistent across the product. This reduces cognitive load on users and makes the product easier to understand and navigate. Iterative UX improvements. After launching the MVP, continue refining the UX based on real user feedback. Don't wait until a later stage to address usability issues. Doing so can result in fewer users sticking around for future iterations. UX should not be an afterthought in MVP development. By balancing minimalism with usability, you can ensure that your MVP provides a meaningful and pleasant experience for users, which in turn leads to better feedback, higher engagement, and more successful product iterations.